I don't think there was any trickery there, but we can do better than this. At Sauchie in Scotland, a few years back, a little girl of 11 years old, Virginia Campbell, was the center of intense poltergeist activity, observed by many reliable witnesses, including the family physician, Dr. William Logan. He was called into the case because at school her teacher had seen a desk rise and float about 2 inches above the ground. Dr. Logan recalled some of his experiences of 5 years ago.
My first involvement with the Virginia Campbell poltergeist was in the evening of Saturday, the 26th of November 1961. I was called to the house because of the incidents and happenings that had been taking there during that night, and as it turned out, on previous nights. When I arrived at the house, the householders were in a state of excitement and tension, and informed me that there had been knockings and noises and pieces of furniture being moved, and that something odd was going on. So I went up to see the child, who was lying in bed looking fairly relaxed, despite the obvious commotion that had been going on. And I asked her to try and forget as much as possible that I was in the room beside her. After I had been in the room for about 10 or 15 minutes, I noticed that one of the pillows beside Virginia was beginning to move in a rather unusual fashion. If you can imagine Virginia lying with her head on this pillow here, and another pillow beside her. Now this pillow started to turn in a rotatory fashion. Thus, in addition, I noticed, around about the same time or shortly afterwards, that there was an impression or indentation beginning to occur, as if something was either pulling from the inside or pushing. But there was no obvious physical force bringing this movement about. I checked thoroughly that Virginia herself was in no position to bring about these odd movements, both by observation and by checking her position for hands and feet. Furthermore, there was no other person close enough to Virginia or the pillow to bring this about. I waited for a little while, and only one other phenomenon occurred, and this was a puckering of the bedclothes. Now, again, if you can try and imagine this piece of cloth as part of the coverlet on Virginia's bed, the bedclothes appeared to be pulled up and pulled towards Virginia, as if some force was trying to pull this coverlet. One of the noises was a very characteristic sawing sound. The other noise that was most commonly present was a knocking, tapping noise, similar to this. After a short while, we decided to go home, thinking that perhaps Virginia would settle down and go to sleep once we had left. Just as we were going out the door, a very unusual thing happened, or seemed unusual at the time, and that was the noises appeared to take on, the knockings appeared to take on a character, in that they became extremely hurried and agitated, as if something was trying to get us to stay in the room or attract the attention to the child in the bed. The noises became, as I said, agitated, something like this. That is the end of my own personal contact with these phenomena, but I have been given permission to read extracts from a diary that I suggested a close relative of the child should keep shortly after the event started. She noted down very carefully in her own words, by the way, this diary has never been published or read in any form before to the public, and she was very kind in allowing me to read some extracts from it tonight. I would like to read the description of the first night in which the phenomena started. It's dated Tuesday, the 22nd of November, 1960. At about 10:30 p.m., Margaret and Virginia were lying in bed. There was a noise like a ball bouncing on the floor. I looked under the beds in the room, but couldn't see anything. No sooner had I left the room when it started again. Margaret and Virginia went downstairs, thinking that perhaps a mouse was under the bed, for a brush. The thing seemed to follow them down the stairs. A friend had just been visiting the house, and after he left, I quote, an apple jumped out of the dish. Virginia ate it. I went away to the phone. Virginia was in the house with Dad. He said, while I was away, an apple came out of the dish 3 times. The clock came off the cabinet and hit Virginia on the nose, settled on the chair just before I came back. Again, we read, a piece of chocolate jumped off the sideboard, also a pencil. A Brillo pad came out of the kitchen into the living room. The light went on twice. Virginia was using the cleaner. It went off, and the rubber flew off the handle. There was a knocking under the table. Virginia gave 3 knocks. Then there was 3 knocks back. Later, she says, nothing happened this day. There was knocking on the table at dinner time. Someone was punching the girls in bed. On another occasion, the top of the hot water bag was opened, and they were scraping. The girls were getting pinched sore. Virginia's leg was getting tickled. There has been writing on the girls' faces for the past 3 nights. Virginia's lips went bright red 3 times, and there was a noise like a ball bouncing. Incidentally, this bright red description really, as far as I can make out, what she really intended to express was that Virginia's lips appeared to glow bright red. And this she saw herself. The bed cover turned red. It was a green cover. There was a noise like somebody walking across the floor. There was knocking on the bed, also on the mattress. And on occasions, she writes, all went well during the past 2 weeks. And she goes on again. There was a lot of knocking on the bed this morning. Virginia was getting nipped. Until we come to the last statement in the book, in which she just simply states, and it's dated Sunday, 23rd of April, 1961, there was a knocking on the cupboard door.
The Sauchie poltergeist case is, to my mind, a wonderfully diagnostic one. A living person, Virginia Campbell, was, for some weeks, at no wish of her own, the center of a mysterious force. This force was fitful and capricious. Sometimes it moved solid objects. At other times, it produced strange sounds. Here is a tape recording made by Dr. Logan. But, unlike the good people at Tidworth, I do not think that it was a demon or a goblin or yet a disembodied spirit. I think it was a force admittedly unknown to orthodox science, but yet a force proceeding in some way from Virginia herself. Until recently, in fact until 2 weeks ago, I thought of the Sauchie poltergeist case as the very pattern and type of all poltergeist cases. Now I have to tell you that I am beginning to think that there may be yet another kind of case of this sort, in some ways different, and in some ways akin to the old notion of the haunted house. And so, I'm going to ask you to come with me, in spirit of course, to Northfleet in Kent.